Welcome along. Today we're doing a deep dive into the work of Russell F. Vaughan, Fred Vaughan.
Yeah, and we're looking at his website, which is just, well, it's a real mix, isn't it?
It really is novels, science, art. It's quite the spread.
Mm-hmm.
And our aim really is to see what connects all these different threads. Is there a core idea driving it all?
It's interesting how the website itself lets you just jump between them. One minute you're looking at novels, the next it's cosmology or relativity.
And then suddenly portraits.
Exactly. It suggests someone who doesn't see rigid boundaries between these fields.
Right. He actually introduces himself as an author and scientist and artist.
And it's not just a passing interest. You look at the site.
No, definitely not. There are several novels, these quite specific scientific books, what was it, Aberrations of Relativity?
Yeah, and the logical structure of matter.
Mm-hmm.
It's serious stuff. Makes you wonder, what's the spark behind covering so much ground?
Well, he talks about his focus in science, doesn't he? Things like theoretical physics.
Right, and epistemology, how we know what we know, and the philosophy of science itself.
All fields that are fundamentally about questioning assumptions, really.
That seems key. He even brings up his professors, saying they encouraged him to question accepted scientific ideas.
So it's this deep-seated inquisitiveness, not just accepting things because they're widely believed.
And he tackles that head on. He sort of anticipates people asking, well, hang on, why should we listen to your doubts when thousands of scientists accept this?
Which is a fair question, right? But it highlights his whole approach.
It really does, and he seems genuinely puzzled almost that other scientists aren't more bothered by things he sees as inconsistencies.
Like he trusts his own process, his own logic, maybe more than the consensus sometimes.
Perhaps. It feels very independent.
And he connects this to thinking itself, doesn't he? That famous phrase.
Cogito ergo sum. Yeah, I think, therefore I am.
But he kind of extends it, suggesting that what we think about, the subjects and images we engage with,
They actually shape who we are, which, when you look at the sheer variety of his work,
it makes perfect sense for him. You see Aberrations of Relativity right there next to portraits, or a novel like The Ruffian Syndrome.
it's such a range.
It really drives home that his identity is tied up in exploring all these different areas.
And maybe it's the same critical thinking, the same way of looking at the world that applies whether he's analyzing physics or painting a portrait or writing fiction.
That's a really interesting thought, like a unified method behind the diverse output.
Could be a fundamental way of engaging, perhaps.
So if we had to boil it down, the main takeaway seems to be this profound curiosity.
Definitely. And a real willingness, maybe even a need, to challenge the status quo across different domains.
All driven by wanting to understand things deeply from multiple angles for himself.
Which kind of leaves a final thought for you, the listener.
Yeah, think about your own interests. The things that fascinate you, even if they seem totally unrelated.
Could there be connections you haven't seen? What underlying questions or ways of thinking might be driving your unique path?
Something to ponder.